Hey guys, what's up? It's Sydney and welcome back to my channel and to my series Haunted Objects. In this episode we are going to be talking about the Basano Vase. And the Basano Vase is actually one of the more mysterious artifacts that we've actually found in the world. The reason why I say this is because of the destructive history that this vase has left in its wake. This vase is thought to go all the way back to the 15th century and was said to be made in northern Napoli. And it was actually made for an Italian bride the night before her wedding. She received it as an anonymous gift. So there's actually two accounts to this story, but from what I could find, one of the stories says the night before her wedding, she was actually found dead clutching the vase. And the other story said that she was actually found dead the day of her wedding clutching the vase. And the reason why they found her is because she actually didn't show up to her own wedding. After the bride's unfortunate death, the vase was actually gifted to a family member, and the family member mysteriously died. This continued on within this same family 3 times before they decided they needed to get rid of the vase because they assumed that the vase was the reason why they were all dying. But the family didn't want to give the burden of giving this curse to another family, so what they did was they hid it. Some say that they hid it, and some say that a family member actually buried it in their backyard, and that's where it remained. This family member must have been so brave, by the way, because if I already knew that 3 of my family members had died already from this vase, and I thought it was cursed, I wouldn't go near this fucking thing. But like I said, the vase was hidden away and was eventually rediscovered in 1988. The way that they say that it was discovered was that someone found it digging in their backyard, which kind of makes me believe the story about how the family member buried it in their backyard, because if it was the same house and everything like that, it would make sense. The man who found it actually stated that there was a note inside the vase saying, "Beware, this vase brings death." Although there was no proof of who put the note in the vase and how it got there, unfortunately the note, I believe, was discarded. There was no evidence as to who could have wrote the note or what it was written on or with. That would have been a big indication of the time period and when it came from. It was then auctioned off by the man who discovered it for 4 million liras, which would be at the time, I believe, about $3,000 to $4,000, but I'm not entirely sure on that in American money in that time period. It was auctioned off to a pharmacist, and this pharmacist was kind of a history buff, so he was pretty excited to have this piece of historical artifact in his possession. Unfortunately, this pharmacist contracted an unknown disease and died 3 months later. The pharmacist's family then sold it to a 37-year-old surgeon who actually made it a point in stating that he didn't believe in curses and things of that nature. He died 2 months later. So, you might not be a believer, but you can still get got. The vase was then sold again by the surgeon's family this time, and was sold to actually an archaeologist who obviously valued the history and craftsmanship behind it. Unfortunately, this archaeologist did die 3 months later due to a mysterious infection. And when they say mysterious infection, it's unknown. This is something that they don't know what it is, they don't know how to cure it, and they don't know how you got it. So that's weird. So needless to say, the word did get out about this cursed vase, and it was very difficult to sell after this unfortunate event with the archaeologist and his family. But eventually they did end up selling the vase to another person, and this time the new owner died only after a month. It was very, very clear that no one wanted this vase at this point, after someone who had just bought it a month before contracted the same mysterious infection that the archaeologist got. And basically it was an unwanted object. They couldn't sell it for shit. Everyone believed in the curse and knew of the curse now, so there was no way that this family was going to sell it. One of the family members actually got so frustrated with this that they actually tossed it out the window. And of course, the vase, being made of silver, didn't break. And of course, it almost hit a police officer. So the police officer went to the door and basically fined them for littering and tried to give the property back. A family member basically said that they didn't have any problem paying the fine. They would pay the fine, no problem, but they did not want their property back. So basically what the police officer did was go to the closest museum and offer to leave it there. And the museum actually turned him down, even though this artifact was supposedly from the 15th century. It was supposedly made for an Italian bride who was famous enough to have this story spread around. And the fact that it was such a drawing piece of artifact and they didn't want it in their possession is kind of telling. Kind of speaks to a great extent of how terrified everyone was to have this vase in their possession. The vase itself actually didn't even match up to 15th century like pottery and creations of that kind. So it's very odd that, and it's also very odd that the vase didn't have a flat bottom. It was a rounded bottom. And in that time, there was no vase or anything like that that was made without a flat bottom. They were often very decorated with designs, gems, jewels, those kinds of things, crystals. And this vase was so plain. It was a plain silver vase, and it had no design, it had no inscription, it had nothing. So it was just very odd that the museums wouldn't want to have this, because to me, that would be like a rarity as far as like maybe in an artistic perspective. But as far as a historical perspective, this is one of the most historical objects, I think, in history. And that's because of the destruction it left in its path. It's crazy that so many people died from this within a month to 3 months of having it. And that's wild. So the story goes that the police officers actually didn't know what to do with this vase. They didn't want it. They didn't want to have it in their possession. They didn't want to have it in their station house. So basically what they did was box it up in like a titanium box, apparently, and buried it. And this is where the story kind of takes turns. One source said that they buried, or a few sources say that they buried it in a grave site. And another source said that the police officer took it to a remote location and basically buried it in a box. So either way, as far as it stands right now, no one knows the location of the Basano vase, and it's probably a good thing. So let's just hope that no one is actually stupid enough to go try to dig this box up and try to sell it just to make a quick buck, because that would really suck for that person, for the owner, for the families that would perish in its destruction. So as far as that goes now, hopefully no one ever finds this thing. I never want to go near this thing personally. There are quite a few haunted or possessed, I guess, objects that I would go near and would want to see in person, but not this one. The fact that the police were so adamant about getting rid of this object is just so crazy, because you would think that like a police officer's mindset would be more scientific than paranormal in a way. I know that's not the same for all police officers. There are definitely police officers that believe in the paranormal. There's often a lot that don't. So it's kind of rare that you see this kind of unity when it comes to the belief in this curse, just because of all the people, I guess, that perished from it. So that's really nuts. Yeah, I'm not going near this fucking vase, so not like I could, because no one knows where it is, but like I said, hopefully no one's dumb enough to dig that shit up or go looking for it, because why would you want to? I hope you guys liked this video of the Basano vase. Please leave your comments, opinions, and theories down below, so that way we can discuss them all in the comments. And if you did like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that bullshit. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Sydney's Poisonous. My jewelry shop, where I sell jewelry pieces like this, crystals and cute little things, is at Perfect Poison Shop, and you can find it on Etsy at Perfect Poison Shop. And my YouTube channel on Instagram is at Sydney's Poisonous YouTube. So go ahead and give those a follow, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.